Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Changing Times and I am Dr. Zubair Khori. There are some interesting developments that are happening in the region of the Middle East, and in this program we have been constantly trying to update you on these things that may be changing not only the outlook of the region but also have the far-reaching impacts for the Muslim world and for the entire globe and a larger context. Just recently, President Obama, in the very last leg of his final term, has visited Saudi Arabia. Many people do not associate much importance with this visit because Obama could not or perhaps is not in a great position to take any strategic decisions that can further his or his country's interest into the region. But nonetheless, it was one important development in this region. If you see at the situation that is developing in this region, that the Saudis are trying to maintain their clout not only in the surrounding areas but also in the Muslim world. Just recently concluded OIC summit that Saudis joined hand with the Turkish friends, and the communique was most unprecedented in its nature, that they singled out one country, and that is Iran, that Iran might have been involved through its proxies in some of the terrorist activities inside region, inside Syria and maybe in Turkey. So when the Saudis are hoping for the support not only from the US but also for the Muslim world, this one step is far-reaching. You can also look at the Iranian relationship with the US, and just recently concluded the peace deal that has opened up quite a few avenues and vista for the Iranians. They are also feeling on the springboard to jump ahead into the new avenues and regain their importance and in diplomatic and political arena. And this is perhaps a tug of war that is going on between the Iranians and the Saudis as for the leadership for the Muslim world in concern. Pakistan is a very important player. Perhaps it is receiving one of the greatest pulls ever from the Saudi side, but it is trying quite wisely to maintain a balance between the two. But it is a very fine balance that we are trying to hold here in a steadying position. But you see what could be the implications of this visit and how Pakistan can be included in this whole scenario. We'll be talking about this, and the guests that I have, let me introduce you to them. I have Ambassador Shahid KSA. He has a lifelong experience of working in diplomatic circles, and nowadays he is in also teaching position in various universities in Islamabad. Ambassador sir, welcome to the show. And we are also joined by Mr. Kamar Chima. He is teaching in National University of Modern Languages and he works on international relations, particularly on the Middle East. Chima sir, welcome to the show. Ambassador sir, this is the visit. We cannot just brush aside that this is the very last leg of Obama's whole tenure of 8 years, because they're already in the electioneering mode and people may not be thinking that he is going to make some sort of strategic decisions for the region. But still, nonetheless, how do you rate this visit?
I consider the visit extremely important. I understand what you were saying, that they are now in the last leg of his second tenure, the final tenure, and the electioneering is going on in the United States, and people are looking at what Trump is saying, about what Mrs. Clinton is saying, other leaders are saying on regional issues and global issues. But nevertheless, the visit of President Obama is extremely important in the sense that this is taking place after the nuclear deal, which has taken place between the United States and plus 5 and 6 countries, which has created a lot of apprehensions within the Saudi.
And Saudis wanted to resist it.
Yes,
rather they resisted.
They resisted it, and there was some very embarrassing situation. If you look at the media, in which the Saudis and the Israelis were on the same page as far as the concerns and the apprehensions were concerned about Iran's nuclear ambitions, and the fact that they wanted that this deal should not go through. But nevertheless, the important thing is that President Obama's visit should be seen in the context of reaching out to the Saudi leadership and the Gulf countries. There was a summit which took place of the GCC, in which he tried to assure them that this nuclear deal which has taken place with Iran is not loaded against any country. This had to be done, and because this will reduce tension within the region.
But why the Saudis and the other Gulf region countries are feeling apprehensive that their position might have been compromised? It's not as it was in the earlier days, that they were enjoying the fullest support. Look at the first Gulf War, look at the 9/11 incident and aftermath of it, and then sustained efforts from the US side to support fully whatever the Saudi government was doing. But now, since the Yemeni offensive by the Saudis, that support has dwindled.
One should try to understand that United States leadership all along, if you look at the Contra arms affair during Reagan's period until today, then you look at post 9/11, during all this time, United States were in close contact with the Iranians. Publicly, they were saying different, but behind the scenes, things were going different.
Okay.
They understood that Iran plays a very pivotal, important role in the region. They cannot be ignored. They cannot be kept out of the public view. Cannot be kept out of the global politics. If United States has to contain Daesh, it has to contain Taliban, others, they have to talk to Iran. Iran plays a very important role. Saudis were unable to understand. Just let me say one thing more, extremely important. You see, international law. The international law says that all countries are sovereign. Legally, yes, but please try to understand global politics. It's a cruel world. United States has a very important role to play. No country is equal to United States as far as global policy is concerned. It has to maintain a balance in the region, and at this time, United States had very clearly said, President Obama said a few years back, that it has to bring Iran into the main global streamline.
Okay, let me go to Chimathab. James, isn't this the action speaking louder than words, that the Americans are trying to maintain a balance vis-a-vis Saudis and the Iranis, or perhaps they have tried to shift their pawns from one side to the other, and these are the initial days that we understand that the US interests are more aligned towards Iran than Saudi Arabia?
Well, Dr. what I believe is that the Gulf states have failed to understand the President Obama's trajectory or his ambitions. The moment Obama got office, he wanted to lower his diplomatic, political, and military investment in the Middle East. And this has not been in the radar of the thinking of the Middle Eastern leaders. And they have been thinking the way the things have been. And they forgot that, the President Obama is not like a President Bush. He's the one who wants to end the war. That's why he was not in Syria. That's why he's not in Yemen. That's why he's not into any conflict. That's why even he didn't go to Libya himself, and he put the European friends in that scene. So he's
but
trying
he has accepted that was one of the biggest mistakes that he has ever made during his tenure.
The mistake is there. Definitely, mistake is there. But what's important is that they are not.
They are boots on ground, not.
They are the boots on the ground, and plus they are not going to engage that. And if what I believe is that the GCC or the Israel, they need to understand they cannot just collide with the United States. There has been a policy decision in State Department, in Pentagon, and in White House that we have to go for a reproach. We have to open up with the Iran, and they have opened up. They made a policy. They allocated the resources, and now they have got the results with Iran. Now they are buying. I was just reading a report. They are buying the heavy water from the Iranians as well. So I think what I believe is that these GCC states have failed to understand, and above all, what they are doing is that they are trying to confront, or they are trying to be hostile. This is not the way the states behave.
No, it is the understanding or the perception of understanding in the Saudi circles that the Americans are not going to bet in their favor in the near future.
Well, there is an understanding that Americans are not going to, and that is why there has been a trade of harsh words, although between the second tier or third tier leadership within the Saudi Arabia and then the United States. All the Americans are wise enough; they are not speaking anything. They are meeting with them. Obama invited them to Camp David. All the GCC leaders last year or perhaps this year, and then now he's coming himself. He's meeting everyone, but he's not putting anything on the table. So he's not giving them anything. He's but just trying to cajole them. Look, I'm here. We are here. And one very important point. If you go for the lexicon in the Washington, there is a lexicon of ally and partnership. Americans are not having anyone as a ally other than Turkey except EU. And this is what the Saudis and the GCC need to understand.
Turks are standing behind the Saudis as far as this last OIC meeting communique is concerned.
But that would be something different. They cannot, they may not.
Yeah, outside NATO.
Yes, they may not help them in Yemen, or if they're helping in Syria, they're having their own personal interest. But in a larger picture, here, the Turks cannot help the way the Americans can help. So if you look at the Iranians, the Americans are partners, but they are no more allies to the Saudi Arabians. And this is what the Saudis have failed to understand, that we have to have them as allies.
Okay, Kamar, we will continue with discussion, ladies and gentlemen, but it's time for a very short break. Please stay with us and we'll be talking some important details of this visit. Have a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have been talking about the Saudi-US relations and its implications for the region, not only in the Middle East, but also for the Islamic world as well. Let's go to Ambassador Saab. Ambassador Saab, there has been a saga or a news activity that is going on about the 28 pages that is used as a part of the report, the 9/11 report, but that was held back by the Bush administration due to X number of security reasons. But now the Congress, the American Congress, has started to negotiate to get into the detail that why it wasn't, and it should be made public after such a long time. But the US president has said that we may be going to veto this bill if it ever comes to his table. On the other hand, the Saudis are saying that if this 28-page portion of the 9/11 report is going to be made public, we are going to take out all the $750 billion investment inside the US. Although it may sound an empty threat, but this report is so important, these 28 pages, that it has reached to this point that they are threatening to take out their investments?
Well, there are two opinions on that 28 page. Basically, it's the congressional report, and these 28 pages are lying in somewhere in some vault, locked up.
Yeah. Locked up by
the US,
President Bush?
President Bush, and saying that, you see, it should not be made public. You see, states behave, you understand, sometimes in very strange ways. The thing is that in these 28 pages, there are two opinions. One is that it does not directly implicate the Saudi royal family, but certain important members of the, I won't say royal family, but those connected with the royal family, important people, they've been implicated as they have been assisting or having given funds, or rather encouraged these people, those people involved in the alleged, as they say, hijacking of those the aircraft which crashed into the World Trade Center.
But Message up, there's no secret that they had royal links with the Bin Laden family.
I agree, but there's two opinions. One opinion is that there is a direct implication. The other is that why they have been locked up. The second opinion is, and that the allegations in that 28 pages cannot be substantiated. So therefore, the congressional committee said, let's put it up.
Or there may also be an indication that it was an inside job by the CIA.
Inside, yes. And then there is in one segment of the royal family says, let it out, take it out, and let's see what happens. But because of these controversial, opinions, I think the U.S. government doesn't want to vitiate the atmosphere. Already difficult relationship between Saudi Arabia and U.S. Regarding the threat by the Saudi government, I've said it on one of these channels here. I don't think Saudi Arabian will be able to afford that, and I'll tell you why. The oil prices,
well, they're not going to afford, but still the threat is, it means the stake is so high that they are there to give this threat.
Sir, definitely high. The thing is, Saudi Arabia, like other kingships, does not have the capacity inside the country for people to come out and rebut whatever is said. You see, the press is not free and everything, so they would like to keep it as it is. But I tell you, while the United States should take this threat very seriously, but I do not think Saudi Arabia will carry it out. The oil prices have come down. There are serious economic difficulties within the Saudi Arabia, because this brings in 90 or 95% of its oil revenue, in which it feeds its own people and helps its own other allies. So I don't think.
Okay, let me go to Kamar. Kamar, your take on this 28-page saga. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it's going to come out or not. If it ever comes out and President Obama does not veto it, do you see any implications for the region?
Well, what definitely the implications are there for the Saudis. They will have to be very careful about this, how they have to deal it. They just cannot deal it in the Arabic way, the way they deal with the things. But what I see is that the public in the United States is going to be offensive. And that is why the issue is, if it happens, if there more than 3,000 people have lost their lives in 9/11, and those 3,000 people or families, they can sue the Saudis into the courts.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. If it happens that the American courts are basically asked that give us justice, then there will be a societal debate within Washington or the United States, and that will implicate to the whole of the world. And this is what basically what the
Apart from the economic terms, it is going to be a huge diplomatic dent.
well, yes, definitely. But the financial experts are saying that this is, as you are saying, this is an empty threat yourself. So this is going to be an empty threat. They're not going to withdraw the money, and where they're going to withdraw the money, the dollars cannot be converted into the real. You know, this is not acceptable. The money that is in, you know, even no one can afford. Even the Chinese can't afford to if they don't want the America to decline because all the money is there. So it's not that way. But they are just trying to exert the pressure, and that's not the right way. I think the Saudis would have to sit together with the Americans and the Europeans, and they will have to go for the engagement. New rules of engagements need to be chalked out between both the parties. How we have to move forward, rather going for lambasting each other or saying that we are going to do this and that. This is not the way. They have to deal it with a more diplomatic manner.
So you mean to say that Obama is going to veto that because the Congress is hell-bent?
Well, if I say is that perhaps he will veto it. Why? Because that will have a direct impact on the policies. That will be an open war against the Saudis. For example, recently the German intelligence said that the Saudis or certain people are involved there, but then Angela Merkel said that this is the personal statement of my allied partner. So this is the person who is basically in charge of here. He cannot be more hostile and offensive in that manner. They are giving signals to the GCC states. They're telling them we are not on your side. They're giving them alert signals, but I think they are not picking the way they need to pick, and they should have picked it even 6, 7 years, 5 years ago. But unfortunately, they are on a hot seat now. They're sitting on a hot spot where they don't know where we have to go. They have got Yemen, they got Syria. Their all policies are not there. The Iranians are very close to the Americans, so they have to sit together and they need to draw a new plan how we have to do.
I just want to understand the diplomatic mindset inside the Saudi authorities. In the last 1 year or so, the Saudis have gone on an aggressive mode. Look at the Yemen offensive, and they were trying to cajole all the partners. Particularly, they were having keen interest for the Pakistani forces to have involved in the Yemeni affairs. Then they went on with that the operation Northern Rad, the Rad-e-Shumal, and then Pakistani forces somehow joined them. And then they went on with the OIC, and there has been successive visits to Saudi Arabia. As far as the diplomatic circles are concerned, apart from the Obama administration and the Obama visit, the recent visit of Prime Minister Modi of India to Saudi Arabia and the great response that was given to him, unprecedented response that was given to him. Why they are on such an aggressive mode? Why can't they just think, sit down and then relax themselves? Things are happening, but not so much at this speed that they are responding to.
If you look at the succession in the way the passing away of one Saudi king and the taking over the heavens by the others, those people who became kings had immense experience of global politics. They understood what real politics was, different from
Foreign
theory.
minister has gone.
Absolutely.
Bandar has gone.
Yes, they understood. Even the last king, a very
King
great
Abdullah.
king, a very matured, even you would say, naturally there are politicians also. They understood what real politics is.
You are saying that the Prince Muhammad is learning the tricks of the trade
absolutely.
now?
These are young.
On job?
You see, these are young people whose outburst, you understand what is happening globally, but the response is not in consonance with what is happening. For example, I'll just give you 2, 3 examples. Look at the quagmire in Yemen. It's a forgotten war. People have died. United States has not been happy with the Soviet response to that. Then look their response to the United States reaching out to Iran and trying to the one thing they have not understood, in the whole process when they were talking to Iran, Saudis were upset, the Israelis were upset. There was a statement by one of the senior officials within the Obama administration. He said that we have been able to stop the Israelis from carrying out an airstrike inside Iran. That would have created serious problems. And they said we have been able to reduce the tension. The response to the Daesh, the response to the Syrian, what is happening, United States have sat down with the United States and trying to bring about a ceasefire there. All these things are there as Obama leaves this office, wants to leave a legacy of peace. No boots on ground, trying to reduce this tension.
But the Saudis are taking as a setback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The younger people who are now, as they say that the Saudi king himself is not very well. He is leaving this thing to the crown prince and to his son. Both are younger people. I'm not saying that they are not intelligent. They are younger people, but they do not have experience in statecraft. And statecraft you don't learn overnight. They will have to understand what geopolitics is. My own opinion is.
Well, what's your advice for them? Just relax a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. They should look at what's happening. Try to listen to the leaders. If I was in their place, I think his father should send, the king should send both the younger people to the world leaders. Let them sit down together with them. I'll just give you one small example. Look at what President Obama did when he was in the United Kingdom. Had a dinner with the Prince William. Sat down with him. This is how, and Prince William, believe it or not, will be a great king. He's learning from leaders. He must have kept his mouth shut and listened to what the president is saying. So, sir,
just try to understand, Kamal, from your eye, what the Saudis are thinking. The setback after setback, the nuclear deal, the support of FSA, the boots on ground that they were demanding against Bashar al-Assad, the expected response from the Americans after the Russians decided to plunge into this quagmire of Syrians, and then OIC summit, no backing from the US, and now they were expecting something grand out of the Obama visit, but substantially nothing has come out of the, even after the address to the GCC. So they have reasons to be pessimistic.
Well, I read Shakespeare's play Macbeth, and he says that foul is fair and fair is foul.
Okay.
So you have to understand that this is international politics, and it's tricky. You cannot take the way you want to take.
No, I know, but the response, it is out of the proportion of the setbacks that they're receiving?
They are facing every setback. Internationally, every country is understanding. It was Pakistan who was very close. It was considered very close to the Saudi Arabia, but we inched ourselves back from them. It's the Middle Eastern states who are thinking that in every passing day we are getting into the quagmire, and not in a quagmire, in a strategic quagmire. Is the Americans or the Europeans, everybody thinking that you are not doing good, your human rights record is not good. I think Norway and some Sweden didn't give them the military arsenals because their human rights record is not doing good. And above all, United Nations Committee on Torture has said that your torture record is very bad. I think internationally things, they are getting pressed up, and what they have to see, as you were saying, that they're getting, every day they are getting setbacks, and these things are happening. What I feel about Saudi Arabia, or what they need to sit down, they need to relax, and they need to chart out new avenues how we have to move forward. Let me tell you, Dr. Saab, they will have to sit with the Iranians. But the problem with the Saudi Arabia and Iran is that both states cannot collaborate with each other, because if they collaborate, their own existing order will collapse.
Okay.
Because the existing orders within both states are standing on this point on the enmity of each other. So, but at the one point they will have to, be slow. They will have to be more moderate, or they will have to give more space to the international, whatever internationally happening. Otherwise, there will be a more tough situation in coming days.
Okay, let me get to you. Another setback that is brewing at the moment. There have been some media report. The Financial Times has reported from the meeting of Saudi officials with the Secretary of State, Mr. Kerry, that there has been a Saudi involvement in the making of the Daesh, because and it was quoted in Financial Times that the Saudi official was saying that this is our response to the proxies that you are creating inside Syria, and that has been ably supported by the CIA. Is it going to affect them further?
definitely that will affect them further. We will have to see the magnitude of the response to this story, or how this story is being taken by everyone, and especially the lobby that is talking. If that 28-page reports comes out and such kind of things, where they're saying that that was a, the Saudis are saying that this was a creating, IS was a response to President Maliki, and we just created a kind of rebuttal for him because we know that it's going to be Shiite government in Iraq, and then the Syria unfolded, and in Syria there, in fact, who is basically supporting IS or Al-Nusra Front or the rebels is basically the rebels are being supported by the United States and Turkey and the Saudis, and these Syria Al-Nusra Front and this IS, they have been supported by the Saudi Arabia in a way that directly not been supported, but they have not been targeted, because what the Russia saying that we have to target everyone, be it IS, be it Al-Nusra Front, or be it the rebels. So in that sense, what we have to see is that the Saudis, they somehow they have been, for example, this is the one case. If you just look at in Al-Qaeda, what's happening? Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula is one of the strongest Al-Qaeda in the region, and you see that 60% area in the Yemen or 70% area in the Yemen is with Al-Qaeda, and Houthis are a very small part. Now they are not targeting the Al-Qaeda, the bigger patch that has been controlled by the Al-Qaeda, but they are targeting the Houthis. So this is the kind of, the priorities are not the way the international priorities should be.
Mr.
So that is
your take on this, that this kind of an allegation, I still do not substantiate it, cannot substantiate. I'm just referring to the Financial Times story that has been taken up by many other news sources, that there has been an indication, that was a big allegation, that the Daesh was initially conjured up by the Saudis.
Can I just take a little forward what Mr. Chima was saying, that the Iranians and the Saudis should sit together and talk? I think there is so much of sense in it. Let me just give you an historical example.
Lots of stake.
Post 1945, Second World War, Cold War started. But from 1945 till the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, which is a total disaster, both the leaders of both superpowers, in an objective was to coexist. They met at various places, Helsinki and Geneva and other places, trying to understand each other, trying to tell them that whatever we are doing, we need to contain it. Let this world be a more peaceful place. They understood where they can go and where they cannot. Even though both were 8,000, 10,000 miles away. And that's how peace was brought about.
But Mr. Saab, there is lots at stake.
No, that's right.
The goal of hegemony is there from both sides.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The Saudis are a bit more aggressive,
Yes.
but the Iranians' objectives are no less secret.
Here, just give you example, flight from one capital to another is not more than half an hour or 40 minutes or 1 hour. They need to understand. They need to sit down together, because once they do not sit down together, then they invite interventions from the West. Please try to resolve our issues. And they don't understand. Once they do that, they cannot blame them. Trying this Daesh thing, yes, this is what the Saudis, as you said, the Financial Times has broken the story, have done. And they've created a monster. Now the monster is eating them. They will not leave. You see, if they are going to hit the Houthis in Yemen and leave what you call Daesh, why should they do that? And then they leave this half problems there, and these half problem will in the next few months or year, they will become, the monster will start attacking Saudi's allies and maybe Saudi territory. That will be very
okay. Now
difficult.
Come back to the million-dollar question. Where does Pakistan stand in this whole environment? Saudis treat us, and we also treat them as very close allies, the strategic allies. But given the developments that are happening, the battleground lines are clearly demarcated, or still we are looking for something to settle down?
I will start first with the Pakistan government's clarification, which both political and military leadership stated very clearly. They, as much as they like that the Iranian, the Saudis, they will should try to resolve their differences. They've said very clearly that we will only come to the assistance of Saudi Arabia if the Saudi sovereignty is threatened. Now, this is a very clear-cut policy. We are friends of Saudi Arabia and friends of Iran, and we have demonstrated the Prime Minister of Pakistan and company, the Chief of Army Staff, visited both the capitals. We are in a very happy position, believe it or not, if we are able to mediate and bring and reduce the differences between the two, provided, as this, you know what arbitration is, provided both the leadership are willing that we should play a role. trying to bridge the differences. Let the differences be there. The recently concluded OIC summit, in my opinion, it was a very hurt statement in which one country was targeted.
It's unprecedented,
Absolutely,
isn't it?
very, very strange. This was, in my opinion, this could have been bulldozed. But this was very sad because
Imagine the situation of President Rouhani, who was sitting in the house.
Yeah, it hit at the very edifice of the unity of the OIC and the Muslim country. Again, I would say one thing, Dr. Ghori would say to you, then why do we blame the West and blame other countries when we ourselves not willing to reduce this thing? Believe or not, 54 countries cannot sit down together and resolve the issues. We ask others to come.
Okay, Chima, your take on this, that the Pakistan is receiving a great pull from the Saudis. On the other hand, if you look at the visit of President Rouhani, just latest visit to Pakistan, and you see that the Iranis are also trying to once again regain their diplomatic position that they used to enjoy because of the sanctions, that they were not able to play their the larger role in the region, but now they are extending themselves, and President Rouhani's visit is one thing, and also attach this, the Indian Prime Minister's visit through Saudi Arabia. Do we have any objections to that?
Well, we enjoy a very cordial relations with the Saudis. They are our friends. They are our allies. I quoted this earlier. You know, the Saudi Foreign Minister says that India is a friend, and Pakistan is an old partner. So this is what we can say is that Saudi Arabia is our friend. Saudi Arabia is an ally, and we need Iran as well because we are sharing a border, long border with the Iranians, and Iranians are opening up to the world, and we just cannot be hostile towards Iran. Pakistan is thinking that very carefully, but I think the way the Saudis have appreciated and welcomed Prime Minister Modi, there were no love signals from Pakistan. Although the official leadership, although the Foreign Office or the Prime Minister House and everyone was silent on that, but the people were not happy. If you look at the social media, everybody says that the Butcher of Gujarat is being honored with the awards in Riyadh, and this is not something very welcome coming from Pakistani people. Although, as you said, the state is silent because we have certain diplomatic relationship which we cannot annoy the Saudis. But on the other hand, if the Iranian Prime Minister comes here, but what we have to see is that Pakistan does not enjoy a very cordial relations with the Iranians, and we need to enjoy that. And if you just look at the Kulbhushan Yadav story, the day President was here, and we said that he came from the Chabahar, and the relations got more strained, and the things were not happy. Even the Iranian ambassador had to issue a press release about the Pakistani media.
Recently, there was a meeting between the Afghan, Iran, and Indian authorities on the issue of Chabahar, that they are going to finally develop it, and the infrastructure is already there. And this whole development is made on the heels of the statement given by the Afghan authorities that we perhaps no more need Pakistan for the transport of the oil and other resources from Afghanistan to India.
Definitely, in all that economic linkages, we just cannot rely on CPEC. CPEC is just one thing, and we have to open up with everyone. We will have to go to the Iran for getting gas. We will have to go to the other countries as well in the region for opening up a business. Perhaps we have to end up our traditional biases towards the regional neighbors, because if we do not do so, that won't be good in the favor of the country or in the favor of the people of Pakistan. And especially if we really want Balochistan to develop, it's not just CPEC alone. We will have to open up with Iran in a more careful manner.
Just last thoughts, Ambassador Saab, on this, that if suppose you are still living in the Foreign Office, sitting there day in and day out, and you are asked to iron out a policy of balance between our relationship between Iran and Saudi Arabia, how far you will go in giving them 4 or 5 points?
My most important message would be, I think, I was a bit shocked at the OIC communique, that we have to strike a balance between, you see, Iran's traditional relationship, long border we have, and Iran has been very, very supportive of Pakistan during all these wars which have taken place. Saudi Arabia is a traditional friend, a close friend, and then the king is the custodian of the two mosques. We have to strike a balance between the two. We have to maintain a relationship, and we should not be seen to be taking sides of any country. That will be dangerous. And you said, you look at what has happened in Saudi Arabia, where the Indian Prime Minister was not only garlanded but given a medal. In my opinion, that was a message to us. What has been our response? I have no idea. But again, I would say to you, sir, you should strike a balance, maintain a relationship, strong relationship between the two without taking any sides.
Okay, Chima Saab, your last thoughts on this from Pakistan?
I think Pakistan would have to have everyone on the table. We are not in a position. I used to say to students and everyone that in any time in initial years of any country, you have to go in isolation to be more prepared for leading the world or having a leading role in the international community or in the region. At this point, I say that we will have to isolate ourselves from the existing anarchic situation in the region. Afghanistan is trying to suck in ourselves in. India is trying to, on the other hand, a bad neighbor we got, unfortunately. Things are not at home fine, be it Balochistan or FATA or something. Although we are moving very far, things are happening good. But I think we have to open up with everyone. We need to sit with everyone. We need to resolve all matters, be it Iran, Saudi Arabia, or everyone, because we just cannot afford any kind of skirmishes or conflicts.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Kiani Saab, and thank you very much, Qamar Chima Saab, for sharing your very intelligent thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation, as we always say, that the name of this program is Changing Times, but perhaps some tectonic plates are being shifted not only in the Middle East but also in our region. If you look at the Middle East situation, the lifelong, perhaps for the last 10, 12 years or maybe more, the relationship between Saudis and the Americans are changing. The Iranians are coming out of the sanctions, and they are coming out very quickly and very confidently. So perhaps we have to understand the apparatus of this jigsaw puzzle that is constantly metamorphosing, and we have to realign ourselves. Where do we stand, perhaps with the mutually exhaustive relationship with one country at the cost of the other, or we should go with this approach that we may be having relationship with one country at its own with our national or international interests. We may not be sacrificing one country at the altar of the other. This is a very important situation that is being faced by the Pakistani Foreign Office and also by Pakistani authorities. A very delicate approach is required. Your comments and suggestions are more than welcome at facebook.com/Dr. Zubair Ghori official, and my Twitter handle is Dr. Zubair Ghori. That's all from us tonight. Have a very good night. Allah Hafiz.